Good morning, everybody. This is Dee, and we're going to be starting with our technical assistance session for the day. If you have not already checked in, please do so on the organization, either DCEO or DHS. We will be answering questions based on what you have selected in the polling pod below where the chat pod is. So if you need to have a question answered about something, please fill that in so that we know when we get to that area what we need to discuss. Good morning, Natasha. I believe you're on the call if you'd like to say hello.
Good morning, everyone.
And we have Lacey with us as well. So Lacey's going to be answering some questions in the chat pod, as will Natasha and myself. So let's get started. If you have a question about the pre and post assessment, please type that into the chat pod right now so that we can answer your question for you. I'm going to leave the check-ins up for just a couple of minutes so that we can get everybody in there. Steve, is that your question about pre and post assessment? Please provide the email to close enrollment, or is that you just need that email? Okay, can you retake the pre-assessment, or is it only the post that you can take more than one time? You can only take the pre-assessment once per season. So if you have a youth that was there last year, they can take it again this year. You can take the post-assessment as many times as you like, as long as they get more than 70%, they are considered acceptable on the post-assessment. So Dr. Davis, does that answer your question? Thank you. All right, we have Lacey, if you could type in the email to close the enrollment for Steve, I would appreciate that. And okay, the chat is moving very rapidly here. I'm also interested in review of payroll. Okay, we'll take care of that. All right, great. Okay, so that looks like we have those questions answered. How about for the Employment 101? It looks like we have a couple of questions available for that, or we have a couple of people that have a question about that. So if you can type in your question about Employment 101. All right, well, we're waiting for a couple people who are typing right now. I will add Austin Chamber at the end of the day today. I apologize. Or if Lacey, if you can add that. Are you a DHS or a DCEO grantee, Glenda? All right. Lacey, if you can add them to that poll, I would appreciate it. And Dr. Davis is still typing. I'm hoping that it's a question about Employment 101. All right, Glenda, we got you in there now. Yay. Oh, I apologize. Everybody needs to re-answer the poll since we added that in there for DHS. DCEO, you're okay. But everybody who checked in on DHS, you please need to re-add your answer. All right. Okay, so we're moving on from Employment 101. It looks like we had 3 people who had a question about that, but nobody has typed anything yet, so we will be moving on to adding employers. If you could type in your question in the chat pod about adding employers, we can answer that for you.
And also,
We'll
it looks like we
yeah.
had a person add that they had a question about eligibility and enrollment. And
Oh,
I mean, would it
okay.
be helpful to everyone if we just kind of walk through, did a recap of some of the stuff, or?
How about if you raise your hand if it would be good just to do a recap? All right, so it looks like we can take care of that. Okay. All right. So let's go to a screen share here.
One thing, while Dee's having her sharing her screen, if you look in the upper right-hand corner of that section, you'll see that there are 4 arrows that look like they're pointing outwards to each of the 4 corners. You can click on that, and it will expand that, what we call a share pod, and so that it gives you the full screen view. If you click on that icon again, it will restore it back to the size that you see right now.
All right. Okay. So now have we have the list, or I'm sorry, we have the website up on the screen right now. We have access to the SYEP guide at the bottom of the page. Everybody should hopefully know how to get there from this by now. And as we are looking at this, we can uh, find access to all sorts of different resources, our full list of resources. We can also look at getting started, career readiness, all of that good information. When you click on the Sign Into SYEP Partner Tools, that will take you to your dashboard, and on your dashboard you will see youth. You will see your dashboard with all of your completed applications, the applications in progress. Now I am in a test site or a training site, so if you're not seeing the information that you think you should be seeing, it will look different for you once you're logged in as your organization. You'll also see general group, and then down here we see the list where it says eligibility determination status. We have 5 people who are submitted. If I click on this number, it will give me a list of the people who have been submitted, and then it will tell me on the list what they're submitted, whether they were enrolled, or whether they have been placed. Then if I go back to my dashboard, it tells me who has been determined eligible. So then you can click on that list, and it will tell you that Janet Jackson has been determined eligible and has been enrolled and is placed in a work site. Now, if you want to go back to the dashboard and look at the people who have been submitted but have not been determined eligible, we can look at their profile. So let's look at Lona Lewis and look at her profile. Now, determining whether or not somebody is eligible, there are guidelines that you will need to follow, but once you have determined from those guidelines whether or not they are eligible or not, all you have to do is go to their profile. If they have been submitted, then you click the down arrow and you say either eligible or not eligible. So when we click on eligible here, it will, and then you click the update, it will then make the enrollment status live once they are determined eligible. Then you can click enrolled, or not suitable, do not enroll at this time, exited, but we want to enroll youth. So we would click the enrolled and then pick what program based on the organization is. So it would be work experience for in-school youth or work experience for out-of-school youth. So we're going to pick in-school, and we're going to then update that. Once we have that all updated, then we see what the eligibility section information is. So we know here that this student was accepting or was receiving food stamp or part of the SNAP program. So does that answer your question about eligibility and enrollment? Okay. I believe that we got the pre and post assessment answered, taken care of. Natasha, I saw some typing going on. Did you answer the Employment 101 questions?
Yes, in the chat. The youth can access the employment guide through when they log into their account, but, it's also available just, for anyone really to access through the SYEP guide in the career readiness section. And also we are in the process of adding a link so that the workforce partners can view the youth saved entries or plans within for their employment guide. So that's what we're working on right now.
Ashley's asking if students bring in their parents' food stamp letter, is that sufficient? That is a question that we need. Ashley, are you DHS or DCEO grantee? DCEO. We'll have to, Tammy is not available today, so we'll have to ask her for sure, and then we will add that to the FAQ, hopefully tomorrow. So we'll get back to you with an answer to that, Ashley. Students are still having trouble enrolling online. Is it because of not being able to access the internet, or is it the website is not taking it? We may need a little bit more answer for that, Larry, if you want to
just
send
so we don't take up time, we'll go ahead and contact Larry.
Okay.
Or you can send an email to, we'll put the email address in there and we'll just work with you directly.
Okay. And then let's move on to, let's show everybody about printing out the certificate. The youth can access their tool from their access to their tools from going to the SYEP page, and just in the bottom section, this first box right here, right here gives them access to their tools. So they click on here and then they log in using their username and password that they have received from setting up an account. Once they're in their account, they can see their application, which they can print for you. They can go to their career readiness section, which gives them access to their pre-assessment, access to the Employment 101 guide, and then all of their career plan options here. Once they've taken their post-assessment and received a score of 70 or better, then they can download and or print their certificate of completion. So if I click on the download certificate of completion, oh, this does not look good. And I'm live,
But you're on.
Natasha.
Okay.
Um, so we will get that. So from post-assessment, I've scored 92. I can access my certificate of completion there as well. We will get this fixed. Um, and then when we go back to the career readiness, it is there. When they go to the Employment 101 guide by clicking there, then we can see what is going on with their overall progress. If they have completed all of the sections, then they will see a green line all the way across the top. Once they have established some of the items that are to-do items in the career plan and the job search plan, they can click on the View My Plans and see their plan in action. And if they have done more than one plan, so this one was for a welder, if I did another one for marketing, or if I did another one for a plumber, then I would see each of the plans as an option. Okay, and Ashley, yes, we do encourage everyone, all participants, to do the Employment 101 section. Within the section, they have useful tips and tricks and articles that they can read, as well as adding information along the way to create their plan. So it is a very useful tool for every participant to complete. According to the quiz, the pre and post assessment, if they can answer the questions without without reading any of the documents and get better than 70%, then they wouldn't necessarily need to do the Employment 101, but we advise everyone to do that. Adding employers. I'm sorry, I think I had one more question up here. The term out of school means what? Does it simply apply to those who are dropouts and not planning to return? I believe that is the definition, but Ashley, we will get the answer specifically for that. It may be in the FAQ. Have you checked there yet? Why is everything small and blurry? I think Chelsea answered you, Larry, on that one. We answered Ashley. And Ashley, where is the FAQ? If we go back to the SYEP guide, so I am now on the provider side. If you go to Partners, SYEP guide, then in the FAQ is right here underneath all resources, frequently asked questions. And Chelsea just put the provider FAQ in there in the chat pod for you, so you can click there as well. Okay, let's move on to adding employers. Do we have a question, or would it just be helpful if I just added an additional employer? Again, please raise your hand if the demonstration would just be useful. All right, we've got a few clicks, so we'll go ahead and demonstrate adding an employer. Let's go back into the SYEP Partner Tools. And I need to log back in, so give me just one moment. Okay, let's clear some cookies here and see if we can. All right, this is not making me happy here. Natasha?
Oh,
I'm having challenges getting logged in here, and I was just in.
close the browser window and open it up again. You cleared out your
All
cookies.
right. All right, I'll clear my cookies. All right, let's try this one more time. This is exciting webinar, isn't it, folks? Yay! It worked. All right. So under employers, when when we go to employers, we can now add an employer by clicking the Add Employer. We're going to add the information. And we're doing and then as we're adding this, if you have not done the supervisor background check or the worksite agreement, you will not be able to add a placement to the worksite. So you need to make sure that when you're adding them that you do get the background checks done on anybody who supervises a youth, and add the date of the background check, and then make sure that a worksite agreement is in place and add the date that that was in place, and then how many positions you are going to be adding. And if there's 0, then it would just stay there. What the website address is, what their street address is, what city they're in, state, zip code, and then what the +4, who the primary contact is. Whoops. Email. And then add the employer. So easy peasy lemon squeezy. So Ashley's apple cakes are now in there. So that's how to add an employer. Now when we want to place a youth, we go to placements, and we can see what we have available: projected part-time openings, projected full-time openings, part-time placements, and full-time placements. So if I want to add a placement, I go into Edit Placements. I can then go down to Add Placement. I can select a youth, and I'm going to add Quinn Quasi, part-time position, regular, what the type of job is. So in our type of job, they are going to be doing food preparation and related occupations. Planned start date would be maybe tomorrow. Planned end date, we can pick an August date, and maybe they're going to be working for a month. Add the placement. If we need to remove that person from that placement, we can just go to that placement and click Remove. We have a question: are we to do background checks on the supervisors at the various work sites where youth are placed? That is a correct question. You must do a background check on any and all supervisors who are going to be supervising youth, including the youth supervisors and anyone who works at the employment location that is going to be able to supervise the youth. What if we want to delete a work site that has youth already placed? Are they not going to be working there? If they're not going to be working there or have not worked there at all, then you can just remove them from the placement and then remove the work site. Dr. Davis asks, is it necessary to do this step for our site if we are the primary/only work site? Yes. You must have background checks done on everyone. And in our guide, the simple guide, let me get back in here. We do have, it's a real easy background check. If you click on it, it takes you to Family Watchdog, and all you have to do is search by name or search by address. Remember that all of the items that are on the right-hand side over here is all advertisement, so you just really need to worry about this box right here where it says Find Offenders. Yes, print a copy for the file just to make sure that you have done your due diligence. All right, you have some youth that have applied that I can't find on my list.
This is Natasha, what they may have done is selected the wrong organization. If you could email us a list of those youth names, we can take a look to see if it's something that we just need to change the organization.
Does that answer your question, Joseph? All right. Dr. Davis says, no, sorry for the lack of clarity. I meant, do we have to set up a work site if we are the primary work site so that the youth can be shown as placed? Yes. Yes.
When you enter your first, whenever you enter the employer or you as the employer, you can select yourself as the work site.
How complete are the background checks at Watchdog? Complete enough for what we require for the system. It will tell you if you have an ex-offender, as long as they've given you the proper name. Okay, so we talked about placing youth with a work site. We have 4 people who have asked about other. Okay, let's go back to, let me find the right website right here. Under employers, so Natasha, they would add themselves as an employer here, just like we did the other process on your dashboard. That's correct, right?
You just add like you're an employer. Just select employer when you enter the information.
Right, so from the dashboard, you would go to the Employers tab, Dr. Davis, and then add employer, and it would just be you.
Yeah,
instead of all of
click
these.
Click on the link to show them to add employer.
All right, and then when you put your name in
and
here,
then you'll see, you enter your information, and then down a little bit further, you'll see, is this a work site? You just check the box, yes, and you
Click
enter
yes.
the information in there. And then you just complete the required fields, and you're set up. You're the work site.
Does that answer yes? Yes, okay, thank you. When I went to check our enrollment status, it said 0%. Why is that? Have you checked your youth on your dashboard? Your enrollment status says not enrolled, 0%. So what would determine that is your youth have been submitted and determined eligible, and then in that eligible section for your youth on their profile, so let's go to Peter Parker, you will see that they have been determined eligible, and then they have been determined enrolled. So if both of these boxes are not checked, Leticia, that will make a difference. And Natasha just said that she is going to look in production for you, so if you can tell her the name of your organization. All right, let's move on to the other questions that people might have. I know we had a couple of questions about payroll. I will be doing a demonstration on that momentarily. Do we have any other questions? And I don't see anybody typing. So if you do have an other question, type it into the chat pod so that we can answer that for you. So what we're going to do next, while we're working on this, is we're going to be covering some payroll options here. And I see Donna typing, so I'm going to wait just a moment to see. I'll check back to see what you're typing, Donna, okay? So what we want to do is we want to add payroll. And when we have a payroll, we pick a start date. So maybe that start date was Thursday the 17th, and the payroll end date is today. We would add those dates and continue. What happens next is this page pops up for you with the dates already populated. You can download a payroll template. When you download the payroll template, it will give you your organization name and the dates that you entered, and then you can open it with Microsoft Excel as a default. It will give you additional options, or you can just save the file and then open it later. When you click OK, the document will open up, and you can expand some fields here. You can enter payroll hours and then the wage that the youth earns, which is $9. I'm going to just drag this down so that it's the same for everyone. Then I would save the document. I want to keep the comma separated file so that it's still delimited for submission. Then I go back to my payroll screen. I browse for that file. And I'm going to scroll down in my files to get the correct one. I've got too many in here. I need to delete a few. Here we go. We open that up. And then we upload the payroll template. It gives me the hours worked. And then what we need to do from there is we need to make sure that our expenditure report is uploaded as well. And it shows us here that our wages that we submitted were $324. So then we can go into our expenditure report, add the $324 in the box where it says current period expense. Now, as Tammy noted, you will want to include the dollar figures that are your portion of the Social Security and Medicare, as well as any workman's comp charges for your payroll. That comes out with the youth wages line item. So that number may not be exactly what the payroll is, but would include both aspects of that. Once we save this document, then we can go back to our web page, browse for that file, open it. It will add it to the link, and then you upload the expenditure report. Now, if by accident you have selected the wrong one, you can now click delete and upload a different one. Once you have submitted the document, once you click submit and make sure that everything is correct, then you can click submit. It will give you a warning type kind of question that says, please confirm the payroll totals match the amount on the expenditure report. When you're ready, then you will submit payroll. At the top of the screen, you will now receive a green box that shows payroll has been submitted for review. So this is the new feature to let you know that you actually have submitted the payroll. When we go back to the payroll list, we will look at the boxes here, and let's look for the 717 to 723. It shows here that we have been under not reviewed, but it has been submitted. So once you have submitted it, you can click the view, but you cannot make any changes. If after this point in time you have discovered that you made an error, email your contact at either DCEO or DHS to make sure that you get in touch with them right away. I know that Tammy said that she's going to be reviewing payroll documents on Mondays and Wednesdays. Fred, do you know when DHS is going to be reviewing payroll documents? If you want to put that in the chat pod for everyone to know, then all you have to do is get in touch with someone from DHS or DCEO. They can put it back into not submitted status, and you can change the documentation. So that's in an extreme case if you discover after you hit submit and you go, oh no, then you can change that document. All right. Do we have any other questions about anything that we have talked about today? Where do I upload the expenditure report? Okay. Um, let's take a look at one of these that I have. Let's take a look at this one. We click on the edit. We have youth wages in here. Once you have saved your grant expenditure document with the proper numbers in there, then all you have to do is go here, browse, under upload. So it says step number 4. Let me cancel this for a second. Step number 4. It's still on that same screen. You upload and review expenditure file. You will browse for that file, go to your files where you're keeping all of these documents, and then look for the grant expenditure report, and you will select it, click open, upload the expenditure file. We notice that we've got a couple of documents here. I'm not so sure that I want all of these in here, so we would delete one of them. We would delete the other one so that we just have the one document in there, and then we would hit submit. Again, the test question to make sure that you match everything, and then we hit submit. And then we notice that we have our statement at the top that payroll has been submitted for review. We go back to the payroll list, and then we notice that this document is now noting not reviewed. Okay, we have a couple of questions that came in. Toby, does that answer your question? On your dashboard, you don't have a tab for payroll and expenditure reports. It's at on your dashboard, it just says payroll. It doesn't say payroll and expenditures. You may need to contact SYP 2014 at illinoisworknet.com if you don't see it again. Okay, let's scroll up just a little bit here so I can see. Before our clients started work, they came in and did their training at YJC. Thus, that makes us their employment site, and we at YJC should be an employer, right? However, they will not be working at not sure what to do. Youth can work at more than one work site, so yes, you should include your own organization as a work site if you did provide seat time for them. Linda is asking, do you want us to scan in the trial balance with the expenditure report? The trial balance, let me ask Tammy about the trial balance. I know that they wanted that once a month, so let me see what she wants to do with that. So if we can add that question to...
See, just so you know, too, that Tammy has asked that in the past that it's emailed to her, but you're perfectly capable. I mean, you're able to add that to to the listing, to upload it if you want to keep all those documents in one place. But you don't have to, at least at this point in time.
All right. does the expenditure report need to be signed and dated? When I upload from Excel, the signature is not included. That is a question that we need to ask Tammy. My my thought is that if you do need to sign it and date it, you would then need to scan it and save it as a PDF, and you can upload a PDF to the files as well, but we will find out that for sure. Are there hard copies for this webinar? The only hard copies that we have is in the file share pod below my screen where I'm sharing, is how to upload payroll and expenditure report that was from the last technical assistance session, and we have added a new document called Provider Payroll Upload Troubleshooting that you can also download. That one is a new document for this session. So if you want to take a look at those, you can do that. You can download those from that file share pod. Can you show the example expenditure report one more time, please? So on my screen, this is the expenditure report. This is downloadable from the SYEP guide, and it is an Excel document, so as long as you put in a number here, this might be $12,000, it will automatically change all of your numbers for you and give you different balances. It is formulated so that you don't have to try to do the math. So Jonathan, does that give you what you need? Leticia is asking if we have youth who applied but we did not hire, should I delete them out of the system? On the youth, what you can do with them is, if I look at their profile, and if I go to Lacey Pollock, she was submitted but not enrolled. So what we can do with Lacey is we can change the organization to put her back into the pool, so that if another local organization needs a youth, then they can pick them up. If you chose not to hire them because they're not eligible, then you would want to make them not eligible. So it just depends upon why you didn't hire them. Natasha, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say it's a good point too, that if they're not eligible, mark them not eligible, and then your dashboard will just filter that out. If they're eligible but they either refuse the offer, or maybe you just have place a time, you want to hold on to them, but you're not going to hire them until I don't know, a week or two from now, whatever the case may be. You put do not enroll at this time, just set whatever status they are. But like Dee said, if you're not going to place them with your organization, and that they're eligible, then go ahead and move them to the general group, and then other locations could pick them up if they need to.
So just to show everybody, if you want to just change their organization, you would click on the change organization, and then you can put them either in the general pool, or if you actually have multiple organizations that you're working with as the mother organization, then you could pick one of those other organizations in here in the drop-down box that shows up. I just saw an email asking for a June 1 through 30 report due 7:30. What exactly do you need? Where is the template for it? Who did you receive that email from, Linda? That's who we need to ask that question for, to. Is it, I don't know if it would be Tammy or if it would be DHS. Tammy's from DCEO. Um, and then Byron's asking, should payroll and, okay, so you need to ask Tammy what she would like included in that report. I'm pretty sure that it is a trial balance report. If you want to send her an email and ask her specifically, I would reply to Tammy Stone. Chelsea or Lacey or Natasha, do you happen to have Tammy's email address that we can put into the chat pod for them? Should payroll and expenditure report be uploaded and submitted biweekly? Byron, that depends upon what your payroll is. Every time you submit a payroll, you should be submitting the payroll and the expenditure report for that time period. So if you pay weekly, you would be submitting them both weekly. If you are paying biweekly, then you would be submitting them biweekly. And you need to update it with all of those charges that are on the expenditure report. So if you've got program service charges, contractual service charges, any updates should be done on that expenditure report for that 2-week time period. Next question from Ashley, does the expenditure report change for each pay period or does it remain the same? Well, that depends on what your payroll is and what your other expenses are. But if I'm looking at this payroll report and I've submitted 324 twice, then it would become 648, and then it changes as you're going. So everything that's previously reported, so that you're deducting from your budgeted amount what was previously reported, what your current reporting period is. So these 3 columns right here, the previously reported expense, the current period expense, and the balance due or balance remaining should all equal the amount that is in the budgeted number column. So does that answer Ashley's question? Larry's asking, what if you hire students and they're working? Will you find out if they are eligible once they apply online? Larry, you might have that a little backwards. You might need to make sure that they have applied online, have been determined eligible, and then hire them to work. Then the next, if you hired students and they are not eligible, what do you do? If you hired them and they are not eligible, then you should not place them. And if you've got somebody in particular that you're thinking about, follow Natasha's directions, excuse me, that are in the chat pod so that you can take a look. All right. Okay. Do we have any other questions? I see Linda typing, so we'll give her just a moment. Do we have any other questions from the audience so that we can determine answers for you or find answers for you? I'm going to pull the poll questions back up so that you guys can check in. And please remember, when we changed the DHS pod to add the organization that we were missing, it took everybody else's check-in out. So please check in, again, if you were on the DHS listing. I'm only asking that question because our students are having trouble signing in online. Okay. Beatrice asks, so do we know when DHS will be reviewing payroll and expenditure documents? It looks like Fred is on the webinar here. Fred, do you happen to have an answer for the DHS enrollees? If not, we will find out that answer and let everybody know. And Chelsea also just mentioned in the chat pod that any youth who are having troubles signing online can email syep2014@illinoisworknet.com, and we will help them if they're having problems, especially if they're having problems resetting their password. So Fred is checking on when payroll will be reviewed. One more time in the expenditures, let's bring my screen share back up. In the expenditures, youth wages are the items associated with what you pay the youth. That would be their actual payroll, the employer's portion of the Social Security and Medicare wage percentage, as well as workman's comp. Program services are those dollars that are related to your contract and your program that you are offering. Contractual items are anybody associated in your contract, in your program who is getting paid contractually. And administration is people like your director and those administrative costs. And there is a limit in your contract that you have established with DHS or DCEO about what that administrative cost can be. So Leticia, does that answer your question? What are performance measures for completion of the program? That is defined in your contract, and in most for a youth to be considered for the youth to count as a positive tick on the performance measures, they need to have completed the pre-assessment, the post-assessment, and placed at a work site with at least one payroll upload. If that is all met, then that youth counts as a positive in your performance measurement. And Natasha just typed that into the chat pod. So Demira, does that answer your question? Thank you. All right, and we are approaching an hour on our session today, so we'd like to be very mindful of everyone's time. If we did have questions for Tammy, we will make sure that we get those answers out to everyone that is a DCEO grantee. Roderick is asking, has the 30% funds been released for DHS? Fred, do you know if that has taken place or not yet? And please remember to check in if you have not already. All right, and Fred answered yes, the 30% have been released. Leticia, Fred, if you can answer Roderick's question about when will the agency be notified, I'd appreciate that. Leticia is asking, I thought the post-assessment test was to be taken before the program ended, not before they are placed. We have done the pre. Yes, they just have to take the post-test before the program is ended, but for the youth to be counted as a positive on the performance, they have to have all three of those components, the pre-assessment, the post-assessment, and at least one payroll uploaded. We're going to have to ask Tammy if it's been released for the DCEO grantees yet. She was unable to join us today. I believe if you had a 2014 grant, those funds were released. If you're in a 2015 grant, I don't know. I will have to get that answer. All right, we still have a couple people typing, so we'll give it just one more moment. All right. All right, Donna, that's fine. The other participants might be wondering, so we'll make sure that we ask Tammy and have her send out notification as well. All right, we have Leticia and Byron typing. I will wait just a moment to see if they have a question for us. ADP is processing the payroll. The fees and workman's comp will not be reflected in youth payroll upload. Where would those charges be on expenditure report? Any fees associated with the payroll need to be on that line item on the expenditure report. Byron, are you a DHS or a DCEO? DHS. Let's have you check with Fred offline. Fred, if you wouldn't mind typing your email address in, and then we will supply that answer to everyone else on the FAQ as well. If we are recording this technical assistance session, is that what you're asking about, Leticia? If so, we will, the recording for this will be on the archived training webinars that Natasha just put into the chat pod. Let me pull my screen back up and I will show you where you can access that as well from the SYEP guide. You can access all of these technical assistance sessions from the archived training webinars over here on the right-hand side, or you can access it here on the left-hand side from the archived training videos. You do need to give us a little bit of time to get it plugged up today after we're done today, but any of the other sessions are there, including the violence awareness prevention webinars and all of our technical assistance webinars. Any other questions? Still caught a couple people typing here. We will have an additional session next week at 10:30 in the morning. We'll cover any new and exciting information. We'll try to make sure that if we had any questions that we were unable to answer today, that we will get those answered next week as well, if not by email sooner. Any other questions coming in from the audience? All right, I don't see anybody else typing right now, so we will be ending our recording. Thank you very much. We will see you next week on July 30th. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe it's July 30th already. At 10:30 in the morning. Have a great